What's up? Hope you are well, or as well as you possibly can be. It is your girl, Jasmine, and I'm going to talk about what folks are calling the most powerful full moon of 2022. So I'm already going to just start off by saying, sorry, as the wind comes in, just so that there is a window open behind this. Hi, thank you for joining. So every full moon is potent. Every full moon is powerful. We always want to work with them. We always want to work with every moon phase, especially with pure intention. But this particular full moon coming up on the 13th is particularly powerful because it's the closest full moon that we're going to have to the earth in 2022. It's called the supermoon. So I want to say that this is going to be an incredibly powerful moon to work with, and I'll talk about how we should work with it. And it's actually like a really beautiful, I think, being an Aquarius, I have a lot of like intimacy with the planet of Saturn. It's a planet that we all have to some degree been scorned by and can run from, but like when we work with the energy of Saturn, which is the planet that rules Capricorn, we advance so much more quickly and further in our lives. So I'll talk about how to actually work with this energy to really support and sort of evolve in a more efficient way in our lives. But I also want to say, A, it's intense, and B, because this full moon has such potency, it's so close to the earth, it's opposing a Cancer sun, and it's also aspecting Pluto in a really particular way, which we'll talk about how that's going to help us. But I also want to say it's going to make us feel more emotional. Thank you for joining, as someone who has spent just so much of this month crying, I can safely say, expect to sort of ebb and flow an emotion. I have been already feeling this. I'm sure it'll intensify as we get closer to the full moon. Thank you everyone for joining. This is going to be, so in summary, this is going to be an incredibly powerful moon that is so good when it comes to setting goals, setting intentions, or releasing what is standing in the way of us sort of realizing our goals and intentions. But with that being said, this is a one to tread lightly when it comes to people that could be potential triggers, situations that could be potential triggers. Like I said, it's aspecting Pluto in a really intense way. It's opposing a sun in Cancer, which is just already, this entire Cancer season has been so emotional. So yes, tread lightly when it comes to situations that may bring about more emotions from you. Recognize when you're being more reactive than responsive, but otherwise, because like I said, this is the most powerful full moon of the year. It's the closest to the earth we'll have in 2022. It's aspecting, not only is it aspecting Pluto, which really sort of reintroduces us to our power and also our fears, but also it's trining the North Node in Taurus, which the North Node, the nodes are faded, and it really brings us back to a place of what is the largest picture of my life. Will this cause any fatigue? It already has, babe. Oh my God, it 100% already has. If it hasn't for you, it will soon. This is like, in general, I'm going to get into like the nitty gritty and how to really work with this moon, because I don't want you to miss the opportunity to work with this moon. But like in an overall sense, we're going to be emotional, ladies and gents. We're going to be emotional. We're going to be tired. Probably some mental fog, I would say, especially with Pluto in there. But like, also, I just want to note that like the potency of this energy is so worth working with. So I'll actually get into it. So as I said, Capricorn is traditionally ruled by the planet of Saturn, and Saturn is a planet that really, I always call him Daddy Saturn. I always say like the stepfather that like teaches you through tough love, like will make you go through it in order to learn the lesson. But ultimately, Saturn wants you to live the most productive and efficient life. Not to the point of burnout, but to the point of living your dreams in a way that is sturdy and that has ground in them. I have been straight up useless past 5 p.m. And I want to say, please honor where your energy reserves are. Yesterday, the way I took a 2.5 hour nap, and I genuinely wouldn't have been able to function had I not hibernated in that way. So I really want to say honor your energy reserves, and just honor having healthy boundaries when it comes to the people that are in your life and the situations that could be triggering, because like I said, we're all feeling tired and therefore irritable and therefore just emotional. But yes, so Capricorn full moon. What's beautiful is literally me. What's beautiful about this is that because this is a super full moon, we really want to look at the goals that we were setting when it came to the super new moon that we had in Capricorn in January 2nd. So if you have access to any journaling or journals or just anything that you wrote down when it came to intentions that you were setting for your life, or at the very least for 2022 back in January, and particularly January 2nd, I actually hosted an event, and it's funny because we did this thing where we like blessed our plants and we put crystals in them, and we infused each crystals with intentions of what we wanted to water and nurture throughout the year. So if you could go back to what you were setting goals and intentions for at that time, you really want to sit with them and revisit and reimagine your approach to all of them. So if you have lost your commitment to them, find a way to recommit to them in a way that honors what you have learned since then. And what I mean by that, and the journaling prompt that I shared on the page today was, how can you work smarter and not harder? So for instance, I'm going to use myself as an example, darling, because I'm an open book. My second house is ruled by Capricorn, which has everything to do with money and self-worth and all those beautiful things. And so I'm really sort of reimagining my relationship to my work goals, my financial goals, and realizing that I once thought doing a ton of things at once was how to get to where I needed to go. And I realized that if I just dwindle those goals down to like 3 and give those 3 things everything that I have, I'll reap much more benefits, and those beautiful things will grow much taller than like 5 things growing at medium height. So that's what I've learned since January 2nd. And now when I recommit to the goals that I have, I'm going to really implement what I've learned about being more intentional about where my energy is going, and then making sure that I rest in my time off. Anytime I saw that I had like dead time after getting some tasks complete, I'd be like, well, let me just add in more tasks. And now I'm like, no, let me nap. So that's an example of how to sort of like reintroduce yourself to the goals that you had early January, and really see how you can implement what you have learned since then. Maybe you experienced burnout since then, and now you know how to evade burnout. Or maybe you have more insight on what your actual goals are, and maybe perhaps what those goals are really stemmed from. Because the thing about it is that this moon is aspecting Pluto, and Pluto is a planet that reintroduces us not only to our power, but also to our fears, and how we may be approaching or setting goals and intentions not through the lens of love or truth, but sometimes through the lens of fear, right? We have these career goals or aspirations because we need money, because we need security, or because we need whatever the case may be. So you really want to look at what aspects of my life am I approaching from the lens of fear or survival, and how can I now sort of recommit to goals through the lens of trust and through the lens of authenticity and truth, right? When it comes to anything that is a part of your life's foundation, right? Of course, Saturn likes what's tangible, so it is going to, ask you to look at what you define security to be, which a lot of times is money or financial security. But ultimately, when it comes to the things that uphold your life, so your relationships, your physical environment, the habits that build your every single day, your routines, ultimately and it's an earth sign, of course, so everything that has to do with like the foundation and the house of your life, really look at what parts of it are built through the lens or committed to the lens of fear, and how can you recommit to your truth. And what's beautiful about this full moon is that it's aspecting the North Node. Anytime we have a North Node aspect, the North Nodes rule what's fated and like the largest sort of purpose, the karmic purpose of our lives. So what I would really invite you to do, and this is also a gorgeous journaling prompt, is to look at what is the largest vision of your life possible. What is sort of the grandest thing, or just the grand scheme of things, right? Like the far out. Because the thing about Saturn and the thing about Capricorn is that they're not like goals to complete within the week, right? It's more so, what are you doing within this week to feed the largest goals that will sort of surround your life for the coming years, right? It's about longevity, and it's about making sure that you are working smarter so that you aren't burnt out by month 2 when we're looking at like 3 years in, if that makes sense. Basically, it's like it's a marathon. So you want to make sure that you're finding a way to preserve your energy so that you can last longer. So these goals that we're setting are not just goals for like what's going to be cute and hot and chic in the next 2 months, but rather like what is the largest version of my life in the coming years, and how can I now work my way backwards from that large vision to where I'm at in this current moment to make sure that my habits and my ways of being and my relationships and my thoughts are putting me closer and closer towards that becoming realized. If that makes sense. Once again, I just say things. But it's really important that you really sit, and you can make this an immersive experience, sort of get into your body, close your eyes, quiet your mind, and just invite your soul to show you what the largest potential of your life is, what the deepest sense of peace and fulfillment looks like for you. And that can show up as, what you're wearing years to come, the people in your life, what kind of love you want to be experiencing, what kind of work relationship you want to have, where does your financial security stand, who are the people in your life that are supporting you or that you are supporting. Really just look at the full picture of your life and then work your way backwards and with sort of the knowledge of what you believe your fullest potential to be. Because anytime we have any North Node aspect, we really want to look at what is our purpose. And not just in a career way, but really if my purpose is that I want to live in peace, what does that look like? And how can I already start pouring into that intention in this given moment? Hello, thank you for joining. So in summation of what I've said so far, it's the largest full moon of the year. Really, really, really emotional. We probably have already been feeling emotional. I have cried at least 3 times a day, and I'm not a crier, honey. I'm not a crier. I wish I cried more, so I've actually been enjoying the release, but it's going to be an emotional one, maybe fatigue, but ultimately it's going to be gorgeous when it comes to revisiting our goals from earlier in the year and really reintroducing ourselves to them through the lens of learning what we have about when we first set those goals. So now I know that I get burnt out when I do too much at once. So I will actually scale down my goals and put more of my energy into 3 cups rather than a little bit of my energy into 7 cups. I'm good. Thank you for asking. Because like I said, this moon is conjoining Pluto, we also want to look at not only how we can be empowered, but also how we can be living our lives disempowered through the lens of fear. So if there are any goals, especially the goals that you're revisiting from January of 2022, if any of those goals were stemming from fear or stemming from satisfying something or someone outside of you, or just not coming from the lens of truth and love, really making sure that you sort of reframe them to honor your truth. Thank you so much. I'm glad it's insightful. I mean, I'm assuming that you're a Taurus by your username, and I want to say that these North nodes are in Taurus and Scorpio, so you probably are really going to be feeling this, and I would really invite you to work with this as intentionally as possible. So when it comes to how to work with this, because full moons are typically for releasing and new moons are typically for setting intentions, mind you, this is such a potent one that it has everything to do with our intentions and our goals. But I think the most important thing is to really sit and reflect on what you want to release that is impeding on you working smarter and not harder, right? So if burning yourself out by sort of for example, deriving your worth off of doing so much rather than doing what feels right and then resting afterwards, releasing whatever limiting belief lies under that. You're a Capricorn. My best friend is a Taurus Sun, Capricorn Moon. Oof, y'all are feeling it for sure. That's beautiful. And so just really looking at what fears you need to release, what limiting beliefs, and also just on a tangible level, right? It's a tangible sign. So you want to look at what relationships in my life are draining me and are slowing me down, or what habits, what commitments have I outgrown, and just what goals am I exerting too much energy into that aren't actually mine? What goals are for the sake of external safety and external satisfaction and validation rather than my own? So what's beautiful about this is that yes, it's going to be a really potent one, but I think that's a beautiful invitation into solitude. And it's funny because I keep pulling this card, which in this deck it's called Solitude, but in the traditional tarot, this is the Hermit deck, the Hermit card. And so what I would invite you to do is find a place of stillness, of solitude. I think there is always clarity that can be derivative of time spent alone. So really sit and get into your body and visualize what the largest, most potent potential version of your life is, and how you can work backwards from that vision to really start creating small habits and small shifts in your daily ways of being to honor the largest version of your life. So if you know that in the large scale version of your life, you are in a loving and committed relationship, and right now you are operating a lot from the fear of what kind of vulnerability is necessary to uphold and honor a loving and committed relationship, begin to sort of undo that knot so that you can reach that place all the more. Instead of, and for example, if that is the large vision of your life and right now you're thinking, okay, so I'm just going to start dating, that's a harder way to work rather than a smarter way to work, because you're just going to get into relationships while bringing a lot of baggage rather than first and foremost looking at the baggage and where the baggage comes from. And you can definitely heal while you're in a relationship, but I think it's important to first and foremost look at what are the beliefs I'm bringing into this partnership and where do they stem from, which parts of it are from fear or trauma. And you can work smarter by addressing that first and foremost rather than getting into something before addressing what's going on internally. Side tangent, but just an example. And I think that's mainly everything I wanted to say. Safe to say intense emotions and the need to let go will be illuminated clearly. there's no way to run from this one. I've been seeing a lot of people tweet that, and I just want to say that, yeah, whatever, Saturn is a planet that loves to hold us accountable. So if there's anything in your life that you know needs to go, but you've been weary about looking into the eyes of, it's time to look into the eyes of it before Saturn kind of forces you to. It's just easier that way. So just really confront what you know you have outgrown, or what you know isn't yours, or what you know is sort of fear stemmed, and really recommit to the goals and rewrite those goals. If you revisit the goals that you set in early January and you recognize the fact that like none of this actually fits into the version of me that I've evolved into since January. I mean, being in 2022, a month is really a year. So I don't doubt for a second that you've died 20 times since January. And the goals that you may have for yourself now may be very different than the ones that they were then. So I think if anything, use this time to reflect on how you've changed and how you can recommit to a new set of goals that honor how much skin you've shed. But yeah, and recognizing the fact that like, oh, those old goals really were because I was operating from a fear-based space. And really just like kind of witnessing that and really releasing any limiting beliefs that still stem from a state of fear. And yeah, that's basically it. Fate fueling Taurus North Node sits at a supportive angle to the full moon, pushing you to think about the big picture. So look at the largest vision of your life, work your way backwards. Productivity, and yeah, this is a quote that I read that I thought was beautiful. There can be a better route to the finish line. So yeah, just look at the different ways to get to where you need to go in a way that honors what you have learned, in a way that's smarter, and maybe a new route requires for you to like ask for help. Imagine that. Thank you for joining. Imagine that. Imagine having to confront the fear of asking for help and how it actually can get you so much closer, so much quicker to where you're. That being said, in summation, revisit your goals from January, see what's changed about you, about them, and really, really, really take this full moon as an opportunity to avoid any situations that could be triggers. Sorry, okay, bye. Sorry, yeah, my thing went weird. That could be potential triggers, and really, really, really immerse yourself in solitude, see the largest vision of your life, and work your way backwards. And yeah, that's it. I'm sending you all my love. Stay safe, stay sane. Stay sane. And I'll see you on the other side. Bye, guys.